Rules for Tyranids and Cadians appear to be on the cards, with the new 40k supplement book Warzone Octarius on the way this weekend. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're just talking briefly about the release of Warzone Octarius, with Games Workshop dropping the hint that the Guard are going to be getting some rules. Let's talk about the release of Warzone Octarius, what we know is going to be in it so far, and a bit of speculation as to what other things we might expect. So first up, Warzone Octarius is basically the latest in Games Workshop's ongoing campaign supplements. I think the general idea behind these is that they have codexes coming out, and then these to drive forward the narrative of 40k and what's happening in 9th, while also allowing them to release some fun bonus content for certain armies, in particular to explore certain sub-factions within each codex, certain themed formations called Armies of Renown, and also add in a whole bunch of rules for Crusade and various missions for more narrative players. It seems that the latest one, set in Warzone Octarius, a place where the Tyranids and the Orcs are having their massive fight, this one goes on pre-order this weekend, and I think the main criticism of them is that they're really quite expensive for what you get rules-wise. They're generally costing around £35 or $60 US, which is quite annoying when it's more than your faction's codex, and typically any one player won't really be getting all that much out of this book. Say for example, if you wanted the Drakari Cult of Strife supplement from the Warzone Charadon series, in theory you'd still have to pay full price to access those, even though the vast majority of the book might not be needed or wanted. They're also not too popular when they come alongside other codexes that have just been released, feeling very much like day one DLC that could have been included in the main book if they'd wanted to. I've talked about these in the past on the channel, and I do quite like having bonus content and other factions explored in more detail, but this just really doesn't seem like a very customer-friendly model to deliver that. In any case though, we have already seen some rules shown off from this book already. It has a Tyranid on the cover, so we kind of always knew that at least some Tyranid rules will be coming out in it. Games Workshop's already shown off a fair few of those. They basically seem to be a paid for in points upgrade for certain Tyranid units, and they get to broadcast a buff to one of their squads within the Synaptic Web range, and it seems to either give them a buff or a debuff, say such as making a squad scary as per the Psychic Creep rule that you can see. Squads nearby will be a bit more scared of those Tyranids, but the Broodlord's one to put one squad in cover seemed really good for the points, and near enough an auto-include if you are taking a Broodlord along. Certainly seems like a nice little power boost to the Tyranids, who are certainly in need of one at this stage in 9th. But to me it also kind of implies that their codex won't be out for a good long time yet. Unlike the other more supplemental rules that we've seen in other expansions like this one feels a lot more like a core mechanic within the Tyranid codex, and I suspect something that wouldn't be alongside a new Tyranid book release. I certainly might be wrong, but I'd probably take this as a sign that Tyranids aren't going to get their codex for at least a good while yet. Hopefully this boost might give them a little bit more competitiveness in the meantime though. Next though, in Warhammer Community's article for the preview for the week, they have given us some tasty hints as to what's to come for the Guard. I was suspecting that Guard might get some support in the book. In a lot of the promotional shots around the campaign, they've had Astra Militarum and Tempestus Scions facing up against either Tyranids or Orcs, and also in the preview on Sunday they've said you'll be able to marshal the might of Cadia's remaining regiments. I think it's kind of interesting that they might go for Cadians for more support here. As we know, they've had their homeworld destroyed by chaos, meaning in theory they should be significantly depleted in number, but I believe they have been establishing bases on other star systems, and they have said for a long time in the background that quite a lot of Guard regiments do tend to ape them in style and war gear, trying to emulate some of the best of the best. I'm guessing that this might mean that there's going to be a codex supplement for Cadians, though I suppose it could be an army of renown of some kind. In any case, if it is a codex supplement, previously they've given us 3 new warlord traits, 3 or 4 new relics, and a page full of stratagems. All could be pretty useful depending on what sort of things they actually get, and I think it's kind of handy that they do boost Cadians like this, as they go I think they're one of the stronger Guard armies, though Guard really aren't competing all that well against other factions in 9th edition right now. Maybe with a bunch of buffs to one of the stronger armies, Guard might actually have something halfway competitive, though I'm not honestly holding my breath too much for that right now. Currently the Cadians do have a fair few fairly useful options already. Reroll ones to hit is pretty handy for stationary artillery. Their warlord trait's okay. The Relic of Lost Cadia is pretty awesome, particularly against chaos. Overlapping fields can really make the most of a Guard gun line, and even their tank order's pretty handy on basic Leman Russ with multi-shot weapons. I think one of the things I'm most interested to see will be new stratagems for the Cadians. I think that's often been one of the areas that Guards struggle with. They were used to having absolutely loads of command points to spend in 8th edition, and I think that was reflected in their stratagems not really being all that potent for the cost. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing some new Guard rules anyway, and I'll review them on the channel when we get them. Finally, the other thing that seems likely for Warzone Octarius at some point, whether it's in this book or a subsequent one, is that I feel likely we're going to get some Orc content of some sort, maybe to try and re-emphasise some of the other different aspects of the Orc army, aside from just beast snaggers and buggies. Despite Orcs being almost synonymous with the Charadon sector, they got no unique content whatsoever in that campaign series, so now we've moved to another area that's also famed for its Orcs. It seems almost impossible to me that they won't get at least something. I think with Orcs having so many different quirks and specialisms, they could be really quite a good target for things like Armies of Renown. They've got quite a lot of very well-known formations, things like the Blitz Brigade with battle wagons and mega knobs, the Orc Dread Mob, the Speed War, maybe some Green Tide options, though of course they could go with fleshing out any of the Orc clans as well. I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like an Orc Goths Codex expansion. No actual news or previews of that from Games Workshop yet. Maybe it might be in the second book of this mini-series rather than the first. So let me know what you think, what you'd like to see and what you expect from the book. I'll most certainly review all the new rules on the channel at some point, probably starting with the Tyranids and Guard, and talk about how I think they might impact lists going forward. If you'd like to see that or other regular 40k videos, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the 40k Tactics content coming, with videos out just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the content on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description below. That's the thing that allows me to keep on making videos like this quite so regularly, and a massive thank you to everyone who is supporting on there. If you were interested yourself, I do try and give a fair few rewards for channel backers, including seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, then the link is down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.